Welcome to the surface area practice test summary. So let's go through this and work problem by problem. Remember, as you're doing this, please work the problem, then watch the answer. Don't just sit and watch the answers. It does you no good. We're not necessarily, the right answer is great, but knowing how to get the right answer is the real goal. So let's begin with number one. This says the net of a cylinder is shown below. What is the approximate lateral area? And we're looking for lateral area of the cylinder represented by the net. Lateral area is just this big area here. It's not these two sides. These are the bases. So lateral area. So we know it's 9 millimeters. Now, to get this long here, that is the circumference of this circle. And circumference equals pi times d. I know in your thing, in yours, it talks about that L equals 2 times pi times r. So times, I'm sorry, I've got times the height there. So 2 times pi times r. But 2r is really just a d. So your choice. This already gives diameter, so I could divide it by 2 and then multiply it by 2, but that seems silly. So I end up with 7 times pi, which is 3.14, times 9. And I'm going to get out the handy dandy calculator. 7 times 3.14 times 9, and that equals 197.82. I look down here, the closest answer I got is 198. So D is my answer. Alright, moving to number 2. It says a right triangle has leg lengths of 10 and 24 feet. What is the length of the hypotenuse? So, excuse me. So this is an a squared plus b squared equals c squared problem, just like our previous ones. Pardon me while I get a drink here. Okay, so we know that doing this formula, if we find the square root of all of them, we'll get c. So the square root of a squared plus b squared equals c, because the square root of c squared is c times c, or c. So now all I got to do is put stuff in there. So square root of 10 squared plus 24 squared equals c. Get out my calculator. So right as I go on, that was pretty amazing. Square root of 10 squared plus 24 squared, and that equals 26. I look over here and there's my answer is 26. Life's going good. Alright, number 3 is another review question. It says, which equation represents the linear relationship shown on the table? Now we can do a couple of things here. We can solve for this, so I can say y equals something x plus, and if I know the x coordinate is 0, then the y coordinate is the y-intercept, so plus 7. Well, looking through that, that ditched 2 answers right off. Remember, it's y2 minus y1, so 15 minus 7 over x2 minus x1. And I just picked 2 points. I picked the first 2 because it's the way it worked. So 15 minus 7 is 8. Over 2 minus 0 is 2. 8 over 2 is 4. So y equals 4x plus 7. There's my answer. I could also have plugged this in. I could have said, hey, if 0 is x, then so 4 times 0 would be 0, and that's not 7. I could have worked my way through just plugging those coordinates in. I could have said y, 7 equals 8 times 0 plus 7, and that's true in that one case. It didn't work here, where y was 15 equals 8 times 2 would be 16, plus 7 would be 23. Yeah, 15 does not equal 23, and I could work it that way too. Alright, so 2 ways to solve that. Let's look at number 5 here. A cylinder has a radius of 13 feet and a height of 28 feet. Which statement about the cylinder is not true? It says circumference is about, okay, so these are all measurement statements. So I'm going to draw myself a quick cylinder over here, just because it makes my life a little easier. And it says the radius is 13 feet and the height is 28 feet. Okay, so the first one says the circumference is about 82 feet. So we know that circumference equals pi d So all I got to do is kick in. I know that radius is 13, so 2 times that is 26. And I have the calculator over here, but you probably can't see it. Times 3.14, and that equals 81.64, which is about 82. So that one is true. We're looking for not true. The area of one base is about 531 square feet. Well, area equals pi times r squared. So I can plug in pi is 3.14 times r is 13, so 13 squared, and that equals 530.66, which is about 531, so that one is true. The lateral area of the circumference multiplied by the height. I already figured the circumference, so I can cheat there and leave it as 82. I knew I had 81.64. I'm going to go with the 81.64 just to make my life easy because I have it. 81.64 times 28, and that equals 2,285.92, which is C is true. And then I've got the last one is total surface area. Well, if this is the lateral area is total surface area plus 2 times the base. I've already figured out the square feet for that is 530 for 1. So if 530 for 1, that means 2 times 531. 2 times 531, that's twice the base, plus 2286, which we said was our lateral area. That gives me 3,348, which this is not. So D is not true. All right, number 6. We got a fabric storage box. Remember it says box. Look out for no lid. Shaped like a rectangular prism with an open top. How much fabric is needed to cover the exterior of the box? So we're going to cover the 5 sides remaining. Easy way to do this is make yourself a net. So we got the bottom of the box, and each has a side, but there's no top. So there's my net. It all folds up to make one. I know that it's 36 by 23 and 18 high. So now I can figure out each one, because these two are going to be the same. These two are going to be the same plus that one. So I'm going to do 23 times 18. That'll give me this one right here. I'm doing it on the calculator. I don't know if you can see that on there. 23 times 18. And that gives me 414. And I'm going to quickly multiply that by 2 because there's 2 of those sides that are exactly the same, the opposites. Times 2. Whoops. Put times 4. So I get 828. So that's this A here. So A is 828. I'm going to get my B's. And my B's are 36 times 18. Again, the height's the same. So 36 times 18. I get 648. It's kind of off the screen there. I'll just move this over a little bit. Now I'm going to multiply that by 2 because I have 2 B's. And I get 1296. So B, I get 1296. Can't hardly read my previous one. And the last one, there's only one because there's no top. So it's 36 times 23. That gives me 828. Kind of interesting, huh? So that's my C, is my bottom, equals 828. I add all 3 numbers together. So 828 plus 1296 plus 828. And I get a total of 2,952, which gives me this one right here. All right, let's go to the back side. So we got a triangular prism. It says, what is the total surface area of the triangular prism shown below? Remember, total surface area. I can get lateral area. Lateral area is the perimeter times the height. So L equals perimeter times height. Well, the perimeter, I can walk around 9 plus 15, 24, plus 12 is 36. So that's 36 times 10. I don't have to do a calculator on that one because that's 360. Then 2 times the base. Well, the base is a triangle. So the area of the base, or the big B, equals 2 times the area of a triangle is 1/2 times base. So base is 12 times height is 9. Well, the 2 times 1/2, that goes away because they cross each other. 1/2 of 2 is 1. So 12 times 9, I am going to get a calculator here. 12 times 9 equals 108. So I get 360 plus 108. And that gives me 468 cubic inches. So A is the answer. All right, question number 8. A rectangular prism has a length of 11 millimeters and a width of 5 millimeters. Its height is double its width. What's the surface area of the prism? All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw me a prism. Remember, it's a model. It need not be pretty. It just needs to be functional. There's my prism. Isn't it pretty? Okay, it's pretty enough. So it says the length is 11, the width is 5, and it says its height is double the width. So if its height is 5, double the width is 10. What's the surface area? So now I'm left with, remember it's a cube, well it's a prism, but it's got all the sides. So if this is A, I'm going to have 2 times A, 2 times B, and 2 times C, because the opposite side, the opposite side, the opposite side. So first I'm going to figure out A. A is 10 times 5. I don't need a calculator for that. It's 50 times 2 is 100. So A is 100. B is 11 times 5 is 55. This is 11, this is 5, because 55 times 2 is 110. And then C is 10 times 11, which is 110, times 2 is 220. And all I got to do is add all those together. So I get 430, and there it happens to be. Life is golden. It does help to draw the picture. All right, number 9. The two cylindrical containers have the same surface area. What's the height of container 2? So S is the same for both of them, right? Well, that means that if I use the formula for S, they're going to be the same, right? So S says that 2 pi r h, or if I'm a little lazy, I can just say d pi h plus the area of a circle, which is pi r squared, but there are 2 of them, so 2 times pi r squared. Well, in this case, they're both going to be equal to each other, right? So I can put it out. Let's do this first one. It says that D, the diameter, well, container 1, the radius is 16, so 2 times 16 is 32. So 32 times 3.14, because that's pi, times the height, which is 30, plus 2 times 3.14 times r squared, which is, I've got up there as 16, so 16 squared. So that's going to give me S for this first one. Well, let's find out what S equals. Calculator's a beautiful thing. So 32 times 3.14 times 30 plus 2 times 3.14 times 16 squared. And I end up with 4,622.08. 4,622.08. Well, that means that this over here is going to be equal to the same surface area. So my S over here is going to be, for my second one, I'll work it down here at the bottom here. So 4,622.08 equals the diameter. If the radius is 8, the diameter is 16, so that equals 16 times 3.14, that's pi. I wrote the formula up here, times the height, which I don't know. So I'm just going to leave that as h, plus 2 times 3.14 times r squared, so 8 squared. And I can start figuring out pieces of this. And remember, I'm going to work my equation back and forth, but I'm going to figure out everything I can before I do that. So I know that's going to stay the same. 4,622.08 equals, so let's do this, 16, oops, it kicked off again, 16 times 3.14, and that gives me 50.24, and I got to bring the h down because I don't know what it is, plus 2 times 3.14, 2 times 3.14 times 8 squared, and that equals 401.92. Now I can just work it like any other equation. And the first thing I would do is I would leave, it's the variable, I'm going to leave that alone till last. So I'm going to subtract 401.92 from both sides. Whoops, that was a terrible 2. So 4622.08 minus 401.92, and that gives me 4,220.16, and that equals 50.24 times h. Well, and now I divide both sides by the coefficient, the number with the variable, so 50.24. So, and I already have my answer in there, so all I got to do is divide it by 50.24, and I get 84. So the height is 84 inches. Just had to work it out. All right, number 10. A carpenter refinishes wood furniture at a rate of $9 per square foot. How much does he charge to refinish the exterior of the cedar trunk represented by the rectangular prism below? So, all we need to do is know the total surface area and then multiply that by $9. So, remember, anytime you have a six-sided box, you've got an A side, a B side, and a C side, and these will be each 2 times. So all I got to do is say A. Well, A is 3 foot times 2.3. So 3 times 2.3, and that gets me 6.9. And remember, there's another side to A, so I'm going to multiply that by 2, so times 2, and that equals 13.8. B is 3 foot times 1.5 feet, so 3 times 1.5, and that equals 4.5. I'm going to multiply that by 2 because B has a top and a bottom, and that equals 9 feet. Now C is 2.3 feet tall by 1.5 feet wide or long, so 2.3 times 1.5, that gives me 3.45, and I'm going to multiply that by 2 because there's 2 sides, and I get 6.9. Now I'm going to add all those together. $13.8, and I get a total of 29.7. Now all I got to do is multiply that by the total amount per square foot is $9. So I'm going to multiply 29.7 times 9. It's great that it's already in there. And I get $267. 267. I got 0.3, but remember it's money, so $267.30. All right, number 11. A cylindrical candle has a diameter of 2 inches, so that's its D, and a height of 8 inches. Its height decreases 0.5 inches for every hour that it burns. What is the approximate surface area of the candle after it burns for 4 hours? Well, let's start with our candle. Lovely candle. Okay, it has a diameter of 2 inches and a height of 8 inches. Okay, it burns every hour it goes down a half an inch. Well, 4 hours, we're 4 times 1/2, because that's how far we're going to subtract off this 8. 4 times 1/2. That half of 4 is 2. So it goes down 2 inches. So we'll just change this number and subtract the 2 inches. So now I've got a diameter of 2, that stays the same, and a height of 6. Now I need total surface area. Well, surface area of a cylinder is the circumference, or pi d. So total surface area equals the lateral surface area, which is circumference, or pi d, times height, that gives me this, plus 2 times the area of the base. The area of the base is a circle, so 2 times pi r squared. So now I fill in parts I know. I know that pi is 3.14, so that equals 3.14 times the diameter is 2, times the height is 6, plus 2 times 3.14, that's pi, times the radius is half of that, so it's 1 squared. And now all you do is type that in. So 3.14 times 2 times 6 plus 2 times 3.14 times 1 squared. I really didn't type that in, but I did anyway. And I get 43.96. And I got to bring back the measurement, which is inches cubed. All right, number 12. We're going to use 2 parts of number 12. It says use the prism below for both questions 12 and 13. The first question asks for lateral surface area, so it only wants the sides that aren't the bases. And the next one asks for total. Well, that's kind of nice. It's just basically working ourselves through. So lateral is perimeter times height. So going around this triangle is perimeter. So I got 15 plus 18 plus 15. I'm going to go ahead and put that in the calculator. 15 plus 18 plus 15, and that gives me a perimeter of 48. So 48 times the height is 12. So 48 times 12 gives me 576. Man, I just thought about that. I put inches cubed up here on the last one, and it was definitely inches squared. I get so much used to things. All right, 576 meters squared. That's the lateral. Now, to get the base, I'm going to add that. To get S, I'll take that 576, and I'm going to add it 2 times the area of the base. So the area of the base is a triangle. So 2 times 1/2 times base times height. Or that would be 576, plus 2 times 1/2. Half of 2 is 1, so 1 times anything itself. So plus base times height. I don't want to write b's in there yet. I want to write the b here is 18, and the height is 12. So I put that in there. (576) plus 18 times 12, and that gives me 792 square meters. All right, I hope you did well. Remember, you can go back and try it as many times as you want, and I suggest you do.